Welcome to Urban Lullabies, where legends live in the space between sleep and shadow. Tonight, we journey into the haunted corridors of Japan's urban folklore, where a woman who was forgotten in life became unforgettable in death. She moves without legs. She asks a single question. And if you see her, it's already too late. This is the story of Teke Teke. The sound comes before the shape. Teke, teke, teke. In the quiet corridors of Japanese schoolyards, children whisper the name as if invoking it might bring her closer. No one remembers who told the story first, only that everyone seems to know it. Passed from older siblings to younger, from classrooms to campfires. And always near the tracks. They say she moves without legs, dragging what's left of her body along the ground. Her elbows scrape the concrete, her nails leave hairline fractures in linoleum and tile. Her torso twists with unnatural strength as she races, not crawls, toward you. Teke. Teke. What remains of her is fast. Fast enough to catch you. Fast enough to kill you. Some legends say her name was Kashima Reiko. A woman who, decades ago, was assaulted and left for dead on the train tracks of Hokkaido. In other versions, she was an office worker who slipped through the gap of a faulty train platform and was severed by an oncoming train. In all versions, her body was cut in half, and she died in agony, crawling for help that never came. Her spirit, unable to rest, returned, but not as the woman she once was. What rose in her place was something else. Something hollow, broken, and vengeful. She became Teke Teke, named for the sound her body makes when dragging itself forward. Steel on stone. Bone on concrete. She appears at night, often near urban railways, abandoned stations, or empty hallways. She doesn't ask. She doesn't warn. She pursues, without pause, without pity. Some say if you see her, you have 3 days left to live. Others claim she asks a single question. Where are my legs? Answer wrong, and she'll take yours in return. There are stories, quiet ones, about what happens if she speaks to you. They say Teke Teke doesn't just appear, she asks something. Something simple. Something dreadful. Do you know where my legs are? The question is a trap. If you answer, at the train station, she vanishes. But only for a while. If you hesitate, if you panic, if you lie, she'll slice you in half with the rusty scythe she drags behind her, or worse, with her sharpened arms. Not out of rage. Not for revenge. Just to make you like her. There's another version, a darker variation told in school dormitories and whispered behind textbooks. She doesn't ask. She simply watches. A flicker at the corner of your vision. A scrape outside your window on the 3rd floor. A tap at the edge of your bathtub. You turn. She's already halfway to you. Teke, teke. The tale of the boy on the overpass. It was said to be a dare. A teenage boy, name forgotten, dared by classmates to stay out past midnight and walk the old Showa-era overpass just outside Nagoya. The story was well known, someone had seen her there before. No one believed it, of course. Not really. The boy, half laughing, stood under the blinking street lamp. A gust of wind blew paper wrappers across the sidewalk. And then, he heard it. Teke. Teke. He looked down the empty path. Nothing. Teke. Teke. This time louder. Closer. A wet, scraping drag. He ran. The next morning, they found his body on the railway bridge, severed at the waist, his expression frozen in horror. There were no blood trails, no signs of a struggle. Just a deep gouge in the concrete, shaped like a curve of fingers, or claws. Police dismissed it as suicide. The kids knew better. He had seen her. Though Teke Teke's origins lie in Japan's post-war ghost lore, modern sightings keep her myth alive, reinvented by cell phones, subway cameras, and whisper networks online. In 2004, a teenage girl in Saitama reported seeing a figure at a closed-down metro platform. The security footage, later leaked and circulated anonymously, showed a white shape dragging itself across the far end of the tracks. A torso. Thin. Angular. It disappeared beneath the platform as if melting through the stone. The girl went missing 3 nights later. Coincidence, said officials. Cursed, said everyone else. Another case, a group of students in Osaka took a photo near an abandoned train station. Later, while scrolling through their pictures, one of them noticed something strange in the background, 2 pale hands gripping the platform edge. No body. Just the hands. All 3 students fell ill in the following week. One reportedly suffered hallucinations of someone crawling toward him every night before sleep. Teke Teke, some claim, doesn't need to be seen in the flesh anymore. A glimpse of her in a photo, a whisper of her name, or even just hearing the story told wrong can draw her attention. That's why, in some traditions, you're cursed the moment you learn her tale. It's called the 3-day rule. Hear the story. Remember the name. Within 3 days, you see her. And once she finds you, she never forgets. Urban legends often outlive the people who tell them because they speak to fears we can't always explain. The Jersey Devil embodies the wild unknown. The Wendigo, insatiable hunger. But Teke Teke, she is pain given motion. She is the embodiment of societal silence, a woman mutilated, abandoned, and erased by a system that moved on. In many versions of the legend, her trauma stems from assault, shame, or invisibility. She is a ghost not just of flesh, but of neglect. Her body, split at the waist, is a metaphor as much as a horror. Scholars of folklore interpret her as a reflection of Japan's complex relationship with public space, gender, and purity. In a country where appearances matter and trauma is often kept private, Teke Teke is a literal rupture. She drags herself through places of transit and transition, train stations, bridges, tunnels. These spaces are liminal, in between, and so is she, not dead, not alive. Not human, not monster. She belongs nowhere. And that is what makes her terrifying. Her speed defies logic, just as trauma does. You can't escape her. Not by logic, not by speed. Because what she represents can't be outrun. Even the question she asks, "Where are my legs?" isn't about the legs. It's a demand to acknowledge what was taken. And the consequence of denial is always violent. In this way, Teke Teke is not just a legend, she's a reckoning. Though Teke Teke is the most widely whispered version of the tale, Japan's folklore is a living thing, constantly shifting, branching, becoming more layered with each retelling. One of the earliest and most disturbing variants is the story of Kashima Reiko. It appears in older urban legends from northern Japan. In most versions, Reiko was a young woman who either committed suicide or was attacked and dismembered by a group of men. Her ghost is said to haunt bathrooms, train stations, and underpasses, always seeking her lost legs. Unlike Teke Teke, Kashima Reiko is often associated with a question that must be answered correctly or risk death. Where are my legs? The answer must be precise. On the Meishin Expressway. Sometimes she asks more. Who told you my name? Do you know how I died? Get it wrong, even hesitate, and she tears the victim apart. What makes Kashima Reiko unique is the ritualistic nature of her legend. Unlike Teke Teke, who kills without negotiation, Reiko provides a test, a brief, terrible moment where survival depends on knowledge and composure. Both spirits are legless. Both are vengeful. But while Teke Teke drags herself through cities, Reiko appears in places of vulnerability, public restrooms, classrooms, school corridors late at night. This gives her myth an extra layer of unease. She comes when you're alone, off guard, in spaces meant to be safe. Some folklorists believe Kashima Reiko evolved into Teke Teke, the way one river merges with another. Others claim they are separate spirits, sisters in suffering, echoing the same trauma through different voices. Whatever the case, both serve as mirrors for cultural anxieties, and both never stop moving. In the early 2000s, a new generation of storytellers discovered Teke Teke, and she began to evolve. No longer just a whispered schoolyard myth, she crawled into manga, films, YouTube horror stories, and creepypasta forums. Her haunting rhythm, Teke Teke, became the drumbeat of digital age ghost stories. In 2009, the Japanese horror film Teke Teke and its sequel brought the legend to screens. The films combined slasher elements with mythic horror, portraying her as an unstoppable force, like a cross between the Grudge's Kayako and a locomotive. Other shows, like Yamashibai, Japanese ghost stories, have paid homage to her structure, legless ghosts, vengeful women, and fatal questions. Horror manga creators such as Junji Ito, while not directly adapting her, often use the severed, crawling spirit motif that echoes her myth. In online fan comics and Reddit no-sleep threads, Teke Teke appears in urban settings, subways, apartment corridors, even hospital elevators, always fast, always final. On platforms like 2CH, 4chan, and Twitter, variations of her tale circulate with modern twists. A girl receives a cryptic TikTok warning her she has 3 days left. A subway surveillance glitch reveals a torso dragging across the platform. A game asks if you'll accept the challenge of Reiko, and deletes your account if you say no. She's more than a ghost now. She's a digital revenant, crawling from screen to screen. And yet, in every retelling, one thing remains the same. She's always too fast. Some legends fade with time. Teke Teke has not. She survives, not just because of fear, but because of what she represents. In a world built on speed, polish, and surface calm, she is the return of the unresolved, the unfinished, the broken thing beneath the quiet. She doesn't stalk you with purpose or morality. There is no lesson in her rage. No redemption. She is pain that didn't end, grief that never healed, and terror no one listened to until it was too late. Every society has its monsters, but the most powerful ones are born from our collective silence. Teke Teke crawls through unspoken history, of violence against women, of urban isolation, of technological dread. In a world of noise, she is a scream you cannot mute. She has no legs. She has no paws. She has no peace. Only motion. Teke Teke. In dreams, she isn't always frightening. Sometimes she is just there, in the dark corner of the hallway, or sitting just outside the train window, her face pale, waiting. Watching. A reminder that horror doesn't always come with explanation. Sometimes, it just comes. And if you listen closely, on a windless night, you might hear it too. Teke. 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 Thank you for joining me in the stillness of night for this tale of vengeance, silence, and the shadows that chase us. If this story moved you, or made you glance over your shoulder, leave a comment below and tell me. What legend should we whisper next? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that drift between dream and nightmare. Until next time. Sleep deeply, and carefully.